My name is Sylvia. I'm passionate about languages, English in particular. Welcome to my world of English. Good afternoon, Radek.
Good afternoon.
Here we go again.
Sure.
Here we go again with an interview, but it's my first time to finally talk to you in person.
Mm-hmm.
How are you today? Will you tell us? How are you doing?
Well, I'm very good. This is such a new experience for me, so I'm keen on actually, exploring stuff that I'm not used to. So I'm very happy to be here. Very very happy to be exploring something I haven't yet tried in my life. Very interesting, setting for such a lovely conversation.
Yeah. But I guess it feels natural for you, right? It's part of our job also.
It starts as our conversation sort of unravels. I can feel more like in my room, sitting with the student, and just talking
I could be
about
a student. that would be great. So Radek, every time we meet, right, and we talk about our job, yes, what we do here, because I guess that everybody knows, right, that we teach English, both of us. Mm-hmm. And every time we meet, we want to talk about different aspects of this job, but also in a way that seems practical or useful for our listeners and for our students.
Sure.
And I think you, being a teacher, you as a teacher, just like all our teachers, you have an interesting career path. And today I would like to talk about that. How it has changed your life, how English can change people's life, how it happened that you started to teach, because I think it wasn't your first choice, was it?
No, it wasn't. I've always known that my professional life is going to be one way or another, somehow connected with English, but I would never say it was going to be about, teaching. I started with business and translation because that was the faculty that I chosen when I started my university
career,
let's say, yes. So I wanted to be a translator, interpreter.
Like most of us, this is how we start.
Yeah, exactly. I guess this is sort of kind of common, situation. But at some point, I realized that working on a written text is not really what I want to do. It doesn't give me this motivation, pleasure. So I decided to introduce some sort of change into my life and started teaching first kids, children, and then adults. And fortunately for me, let's say, with adults, it is until now. So I'm very happy about it.
Would you tell us when you actually started studying languages or English? Because I think there are misconceptions. Many people think, our students think that you have to start very early on, as a newborn, as a very little child. What was that for you? When did you start for yourself?
I would say that in my case, it was just a standard path. I guess that people start learning English, in primary school, I guess, if we talk about, let's say, primary school, middle school, and high school, division. So it was definitely around primary school. My affection towards this English, towards this language started more towards high school, middle school.
So that was, sorry to interrupt you, but I would say that was a bit late. But then there is also this good piece of information for anybody who is listening to us, that actually English will change your life, and it doesn't have to be when you are 5. You can be 15, you can be 25, and you can be 45, and it's okay. It is the right moment to start. Would you agree with me?
Oh yes, definitely. Maybe this misconception about about learning language, that you have to start early, otherwise you're not going to reach any sort of proficiency level, is because of this CPR, I guess it was hypothesis. Have you heard of it? Like this, critical period hypothesis.
Yeah, I guess I heard it, Sam, but would you elaborate on that? What was this?
Just a bit. It's basically, it means that, the hypothesis is about that when you turn 10 years old, I guess, or around 10 years
12,
old.
I would say,
12,
something like that.
Adolescence period of your life, you sort of cross this, magical line, and from then on, you will probably never achieve, a sufficient level of proficiency. But this is not true. This is hypothesis.
I started when I was 12. I just started when I was 12. So I'm another example,
exactly.
That you couldn't start relatively later on, and still you will be successful. So this is a piece of advice we can give to people, right? That it's actually never too late. This is exactly what people say when it comes to sports, that you can actually, we had this conversation off camera, yes, just a while ago, that you can start doing sports at any age. And I guess it's the same with languages, with English to be particular.
Yes, of course. But you have to remember that, learning English when you're a child and when you're an adult is a different story, I would say. You kind of have to change your approach because,
How would you do that? So what advice would you give to people who want to start when they are older, let's put it this way, but older in a sense that they are not children, meaning they are students or they are adults, because this is the people we work with mostly.
Mm-hmm. I think it with adults it really boils down to their motivation. With adults, you don't have to force them to learn. They have this intrinsic motivation. Mm-hmm. They know what they want. They want to meet their goals. And I think this is the sort of
the biggest difference.
The biggest difference, yes, the motivation, definitely. And I would say that's it. When it comes to learning the language, I guess it's relatively similar when you compare children and adults. Maybe with adults, you just talk about different topics, but you're trying to talk about the same stuff.
Mm-hmm. But I would stir the pot a little bit
sure,
here,
of course.
Because I would say that adults also lose their motivation, and this is a little bit of our job to keep that, so to give them the helping hand to keep going. Before I ask you what you do as a teacher to keep this motivation for our students, have you ever, in your career path as a student of English and later on as a teacher of English, have you ever lost your motivation? Were there any twists, like you thought, that's not for me? Because I think what is unusual, and this is going to be a little bit judgmental, but I think it's more typical, I would say, typical of women to become teachers rather than men. But men are great, are fantastic.
Well, I'm trying to cast my memory back to any situation when I didn't feel the motivation or when I lost it. But I cannot really recall any moment like that in my life. Mm-hmm. As I said before, I've always known that my professional career is going to be, somehow connected with English.
Mm-hmm. And when did you start to feel that? The moment you started studying English, because my story is completely different. I didn't want to learn English actually, and when I started, I actually started with German, and through German I fell in love with English. So that's my story. And you immediately got interested?
No, definitely not. At the beginning of my learning process, I wasn't super proficient. I wasn't super how to say that. It was a bumpy road, maybe. Let me put it this way.
Yeah. So I was expecting that. So I wanted you to say it, because I think many people, actually teachers, philologists, translators, professionals, they can go through this bumpy road. And actually, at the end of it, there can be this light in the tunnel. We can actually end up becoming teachers, professional speakers, and that can be just great.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I remember it was around, as I said, primary school, high school, when I felt that I'm becoming proficient, that I can construct sentences that I can convey, more complex messages. And I remember that it gave me a great, very positive sensation, like a great feeling of, achieving something. So maybe that is why I have never lost motivation, because even though it was a bumpy road, I liked this language, and it really gave me, this sort of feeling of accomplishing something when I was able to construct sentences, more complex sentences, feeling more fluent with the language.
And was there any teacher that was your master, somebody you modeled yourself on? Because teachers can work miracles, we know that. And teachers can also work the opposite miracles, meaning that they can drag you down. So if you get a teacher you don't get along with, you stop studying. And that happens, we know these stories. But if you find the right teacher, it is a very uplifting moment. Was there any great teacher for you? I have had great teachers of languages, great teachers of literature. That would be both English, Polish, German. And that's why I am where I am right now.
In my case, it wasn't like one teacher, but I remember when I started studying, like at a university, a technical university.
That's another question I'm going to ask.
Yes, exactly.
This is a bumpy road, and that's an interesting thing.
I remember that when I looked at the lecturers at the university, I was very positively surprised by their level of English, and that was something that really was, inspiring. Because I wasn't at that level. I wasn't even close to it. Let's face it. And that was something that really, gave me the drive to try to become as proficient as they were. So, as I said, there's no one teacher, but all of them, because most of them, they represented, an entirely different level when you compare it to, high school English.
And when did you make this decision to study English? Not law, not medicine, but English?
Around high school. When I, as I said, started becoming more proficient, it gave me, this great satisfaction. And I thought, okay, let's give it a go. There was a facility in Gliwice, I think. I'm not certain about the legal status of it, but it was some sort of language academy. And at some point, it merged.
Because this is where you studied. You studied in Gliwice.
Yes. I studied in Gliwice. And this, academy, I guess, it merged with Silesian Technical University. And from this moment, it was an easy choice for me because I didn't want to leave Gliwice for studying.
Yeah, and why technical university? Because that's the first time I have ever met a person who studied languages, linguistics, and all of this connected with humanities, who studied at a technical university.
Pure coincidence, I would say. Honestly, I would like to have some, some interesting story behind it. But it was just, this merger between this facility that, as I said, was some sort of language academy in Gliwice. I'm not certain about the legal status. It merged. There was a fusion. They opened this humanistic branch, technical university. And, I decided, let's give it a go.
Was there any other university? Because technical university and university, they are two different separate schools. Yeah. Is there any university per se in Gliwice where you study English, or this technical university is the only choice?
Well, I'm not certain what the situation is right now because it was, some years ago. There were some fluctuations and a lot of changes did happen, like the place where the classes where lectures were organized changed a couple of times. So I don't know what it looks like right now. I guess it is still a part of this technical university.
Do you have? That's why I'm asking, maybe you've got some friends, colleagues, because do you have any experience? Do you know how the language is taught at university versus technical university? Because were the subjects, let's put it this way, more technical or in a way more practical? Because this is what we all need when we study the language and when we learn the language just as students. We want the practical approach. We want to get techniques how to study. We want to be successful. Not many people want to read Shakespeare. Do you think that was more practical for you? Do you have this feeling that...
I don't think so, honestly. When I first started, and I was sort of surprised, honestly, because the first term we were covering topics that were very general, like literature, poetry. It was honestly something that I wasn't expecting. I thought that maybe since I wanted to start with translation, I thought I assumed that it was that I'm going to do it from the very beginning, but it definitely wasn't so. I guess it was only when we were on the third or fourth term that we started working with translation and interpretation.
But was there any study of the language itself? Because somehow you as a teacher, you offer very lovely techniques, yes, how to study the language, how to facilitate the activity, how to help the students. And you got that at technical university, or you kind of learned that yourself?
I guess myself, I would say that maybe I'm a little bit like an organized person, and I like simple solutions. Something that works, something that is clear, transparent.
And we value that. Yes, we know there is this feedback, and students like it. Yes, because we need to offer simple solutions to difficult subjects. Because when you tell people we are going to study a language, like as such, as a whole, it sounds pretty scary. Yes,
yes, it does.
But we need to give them these chunks and relatively easy solutions to difficult problems. Would you share a little bit of your solutions to studying a language? What helps? What works for you and for your students?
As I said before earlier on today, actually, I really love using dictionaries, especially English dictionaries. They provide great insight into the word, not only the translation from English to Polish, which is also important because we want to create these links, these connections between words, so that we can memorize them and remember them for a long time. So if you have this English word and you want to memorize it, it's good to create a connection with an already existing element in your head, which is the Polish equivalent. So that's why it's important to use English-Polish dictionaries. But
I would say that
at
the end of the day, you have to come back to this English dictionary.
Sure, definitely.
For context. And also what you say, I think that dictionaries are really forgotten. Would you say? Would you think so? Because we hear about applications, we hear about all the gadgets that are there, but then when you tell people, hey, you can look it up in a dictionary, how do they react?
Well, actually, just when I do it during my lessons. So I just start sharing my screen, and I just sort of smoothly incorporate using of the use of dictionary into my lessons. So nobody complains. They just sort of agree and go with it. And I hope that they also use these dictionary as a tool also when they study language, when they learn the language themselves, because learning the definition of the word is great. Honestly, it happens to me a lot that I know the words in English, I know their translation into Polish, and still I type both of them into English dictionary to really see the differences. Because
it happens many times. Yes, so things are lost in translation.
Exactly. You get this very simple definition of the word, and sometimes
it changes
like some
the
nuances.
context.
Yes, exactly. So I definitely love it. I have it even in the paper form, this bulky piece of a book.
You do? You still do?
Yeah, I do. I do have it under my left hand.
It? You still use it? You use
yes, I use it. I was pretty surprised to find out that there are pictures in dictionaries. The other day I was sort of just browsing through it, and boom, at the end of it I found pictures of rooms, living rooms, city, car. What do you mean?
With all the little elements.
Yes, like bikes, all that stuff, and super useful. And honestly, I had a lot of lessons just talking about the living room with my students, which seems to be very simple, and a lot of students didn't know what is this, what is that, how to say that, what's the difference between a plant or a flower. So it seems very simple on the first glance, but when you kind of dig in, it turns out that we don't know how to say roulette, let's say.
Yeah, but I guess this, let's say, easy solution, because we have dictionaries at hand. Yes,
sure.
They prove to be very, very great for difficult problems, and you can actually learn quite a lot from a dictionary. And I believe that both of us, we share the same approach, that studying a language is simple, or it can be made simple. Yes, if you simplify the rules, if you give ready-made solutions, and it is not as scary as you think it is. You just need to follow a certain path.
Exactly. Some of the solutions might seem a little bit scary at the beginning, because, for instance, when I introduce my students to something that is called verb patterns or word patterns, or also collocation patterns, it looks a bit scary when they see these, preposition plus noun, verb plus noun, adjective, so on and so on. And there are numbers sometimes showing you how common the word is. It might be a little bit, demotivating, discouraging.
I agree, but at the same time, if you show them this, it is like eureka, because not many people are aware of that. And if they are not aware of that, they keep producing Polish sentences translated into English. And that builds up this frustration that I often talk about because they've been learning English for so many years and still they cannot communicate. Well, they cannot communicate because they were not studying English. They were studying something in between, like Ponglish. And that's why there is the trouble.
Like it happens very often when I teach my students that they ask me for or about the preposition. And, you just type this word into English dictionary or any like corpus, and you're going to find all these prepositions, verbs, adjectives, and you create this, complex network around the word.
Like a map.
Yeah, like a map, exactly. It really enhances your fluency, and you start to feel very comfortable with the language because you have some like ready-made solutions in your head. You don't have to think about what is the preposition, like what's what's the verb, what's the adjective to use.
This is what we always repeat, what we try to do. Yes, you need this map. You need to see everything. Yes, you need to connect the dots. Yeah, I use this expression today. Otherwise, that will be just this. Random words, and then you panically put them together and you are never sure if that's okay or not. So let me revise that. So you would say what your recommendation for a successful study of a language is. That would be this dictionary. I'm a fan of dictionaries too. Yeah. And I know you do corpus also.
Yes.
Like, what about that? This is something not many people know about.
This is like, because corpus is a collection of, words like spoken and written text. And this amount of language is just analyzed for a specific purpose. In this case of Flagg's dictionary, this is something that I use. It is analyzed, and we users are provided with a list of collocations which are very common, and also these verb or collocation patterns. So that's how I use corpus. It's slightly different. You get slightly different type of information when you compare the corpus and the dictionary. Because with in the dictionary, you don't have these numbers.
So we don't know how popular a word is.
Exactly.
So if we are learning a word like a ventriloquist, that's my favorite, that not many people use, but you are learning, that's another thing. We have to learn something that is very, very practical. So that would be the corpus, the dictionary. Is there anything else that you use in your class and for yourself? Because we always repeat that. We are studying the language. Like we have been studying the language our whole life, and we keep on doing that.
Yes, there's one more thing that I would strongly recommend. It might sound a bit strange. It might feel a little bit odd in the beginning, but you have to start talking to yourself. Honestly, if you have a word, just try to come up with one or two questions about the word. Earlier on, I spoke, about the word information, and the question, come up with a simple question, like how do I exchange information with my friends, for instance, and try to talk about it for a minute or two. You can even record yourself, and then later on, analyze it and see. Maybe you're making some simple mistakes and you can just, easily fix them. So talk to yourself, definitely.
Yeah.
I do it a lot, and it really helps. It makes you feel comfortable with the language. So yes, just do it. Talk to yourself.
And there is this exercise that you think about a word. It can be a very simple word like tea, coffee, cat, dog. And then you keep talking about it for a minute, non-stop, without breaks. Like I have a cat, but I don't have a dog. I would like to have a dog. So going for a walk with a dog would be fun. So you see, you keep on going. So this is another technique. Is there anything else that you would advise?
One last technique, because you want to make your learning process comprehensive. So I would definitely recommend listening to something.
Podcast.
Yes, exactly. Podcast. Like this is great. Make a list of words that you find interesting. Maybe some new words that are, that you don't know. And then when you listen to a lot of podcasts, maybe it's going to happen so that some of these words you're going to hear more than once. And this is then it means that these words are useful, they are flexible, universal, and you can use them to talk about different stuff. So if you are pressed for time, learn these words first, and they are going to drastically enhance your output. The same with collocations. Learn those which are most common.
Put together.
Yes, exactly.
So to sum up, would you say that you can study a language at home, meaning in your home country, you can be successful with that. You just need to follow a couple of tips. You just need to know how to do it. You can speed up the process a little bit.
Sure.
And it's all possible. So you can start actually at any age.
Yes,
and,
of course.
and just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Find the motivation, open the dictionary, find some words, and just, go for it. And you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. So I guess that would be something very positive to to finish with, because everybody, so many times we hear that they are so scared that they will not manage.
It's not
that
black
they need,
magic.
Yeah,
it's not black magic.
They need years to do that. But actually, you can do it. Just you need to study with proper people, and you just need to be motivated.
And start. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Radek, thank you for sharing these tips with us, and I hope our students will take that away for themselves, and they will improve the learning process.
Yeah, hopefully they will.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you too.